You've done better than that, I'm sure. That's what I'm saying. You can afford it.
No, because I've sold and been sitting on the bench for a couple of times. It sucks.
And this thing picks up audio really well. We can get comfortable. You can just chill.
Yeah, it's true. It seemed like it was picking it up.
Yeah, we don't have a ton of background noise.
No.
The water, was
While
drowned out everything.
While
yeah.
Rissa was cleaning.
Yeah, we learned.
Okay. So
We can't do it during an open a sink.
So I can
Sink turned on
I can cook, but the sink is going to.
Maybe this is helpful.
I can cook, but I can't clean.
We'll just prep everything.
I don't even want to look at that. We should just.
Yeah, it's going to be awfully distracting. It's 15.
Yep. All right, you guys ready to kick it off?
Let's kick it off, man.
All right, guys. Welcome to the first episode of Cooking with Crypto.
Woo!
You've got your three hosts here, Rob DeBernard, Spencer Wyckoff, and Marshall Hicks.
Hey, guys.
What's up, everybody?
So, today, we're just going to kind of give an overview on what we're going to be offering you as the listeners, and give a little background about ourselves, and then we'll call it a day for that start. And then next time, we'll go a little bit more into detail on the cryptos as a whole.
Yep.
So, kind of the overview, the background story behind Cooking with Crypto. Spencer and I go way back, and Marshall has kind of come into our lives here in the last year.
Actually met Marshall today.
Yeah. So Spencer and Marshall's relationship goes back about 2 hours.
Newfound pals
at this point. But
our texting game's pretty strong.
Yeah. I guess you can consider me the glue at this point.
That's right.
But in any case, the name Cooking with Crypto, kind of the background story there. Spencer would always come over to my place, and I'd offer up a meal. I love to cook. I love all things culinary arts. I'm not a master chef by any means. It just helps wind me down. I really enjoy cooking good, hearty, and healthy meals.
You cook really well. It's delicious food.
And it tastes pretty good in the end, for the most part.
Yeah.
So what we found was we were oftentimes talking about this stuff over the course of me cooking a meal, and then discussing it further during the consumption of said meal. And decided, hey, we should start putting out content to people that are also interested in this space.
Yeah. And
hopefully try to grow with our listeners, and as our listening audience grows. And the name just kind of struck us. We're like, hey, what are the two things we love to do? Well, obviously, Rob loves to cook, so there's cooking. We love talking about crypto. So let's start a podcast called Cooking with Crypto and just put the two things together.
There it was. The name was born, and the idea was planted.
Yeah.
I haven't stopped thinking about it since, and here we are recording our first episode. So
that's right.
Pretty cool.
So the thought of how this is going to work, and it may change over time, so you guys get to change along with us. Welcome to the ride. Is every time we meet, I'll provide at least some cooking tip or a recipe or prepared dish, and post that recipe or prepared dish and some images on our website. You guys will be able to look at it. Most of the time, I try to keep cooking as simple as possible, but I like to keep it tasty. And so later on in today's podcast, I'll actually go through the one tip I've got prepared for today. We're not actually going to be cooking for this initial show. I know everybody's sad to hear that.
Yeah.
But next time we'll have something ready to go. It's going to be delicious.
It's an introductory episode, so we can get away with stuff like that.
Yeah.
I often get lunch envy watching Rob bring his leftovers, so.
That's right. They come in prepared little boxes.
I can attest to his skills.
Yeah. So what? That's the cooking side. What about the cryptocurrency side?
So the cryptocurrency side is 4 or 5. Actually, it was like 5 or 6 months ago. a friend of mine in my MBA program, came up to me and started discussing, hey, cryptocurrencies. You ever heard of Bitcoin? Have you ever heard of Ethereum? These guys were. I was kind of a sideliner in the conversation, but they started really getting into it and adamantly discussing it and discussing both its potential and its growth. And I was like, hey guys, what are you guys talking about? Me being a nerd of all backgrounds, I was kind of interested in it. And come to find out, I started looking into it a bit more. I said, hey, there's actually something here. So about 6 months ago, that was the first time I made an investment. So by no means are any of us experts in the field. We want to state that up front, right?
Yeah, the goal here is to learn along with you. So I've listened to a lot of podcasts before. A few of them, Joe Rogan podcast is a big one I listen to. Entrepreneur on Fire is another, and I found that it was a great way to soak in knowledge from people that are subject matter experts. So I figured, hey, this would be a great way for us to learn more about the cryptocurrency industry, and also kind of provide an on-ramp vehicle for those that maybe don't know anything about it, but they don't know where to start. We kind of want to position ourselves as that starting point, and just have
exactly. And we're coming at it from the ground up along with you guys. So our angle into this stuff is maybe just slightly above the novice to beginner users for cryptocurrency. So we're going to be talking about our experience and our learning as we continue on with this show, and kind of give you guys our best practices, maybe our lessons learned, our big misses, our big gains, the things that we discover along the way. And as we have more and more people following, we hope that you would also add to that content and add to the shared learning that's available via our website and our podcast.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of the people in the space that I've started to follow, they seem like genuinely good people. They seem like very smart people, and man, if they if they would grace us with their presence on this show, that'd be a real treat, not just for us, but for any of the followers and the listeners.
So the idea stemmed from Spencer, Marshall, and I have really become kind of the in-house cryptocurrency experts at our job, which is scary to think of because we're relatively new to the whole market as well. But the thing that I've noticed, at least from my experience, is people are coming up to me and they often ask, how do I get into it? What is this cryptocurrency stuff? Like, what is Bitcoin? How do I get invested? And it's not the easiest thing to get into. You can't just go on TD Ameritrade and begin to trade directly with Bitcoin. I think there's now some investment funds and some investment ventures that will trade Bitcoin, and CME and CBOE are starting their futures, but actually getting into the space, that's where we want to focus initially is, hey, new learners hungry to get into this space, how do you do it? And how do you do it so that you're not going to get ripped off or have a large portion of your money just evaporate or disappear on you, Marshall?
But yeah, I mean, that's changing quickly, but it's still scary to people, even with things like Coinbase, the app that make it fairly easy to get in.
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge aversion, I guess, to something new that everyone has. I think it's good just to talk about those things, see other people that have done it, and smart, educated people that you trust. Watch them do it successfully before you jump right in.
Yeah,
definitely. And I mean, this stuff is also highly technical.
Right.
I can't just send my parents, to Google Bitcoin white paper and expect them to understand what Bitcoin is. That it's internet cash. It's designed to be internet cash. And you start reading the white paper, and if you don't have a degree in computer science, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, some of it doesn't make sense. Yeah. And his white paper is one of the Satoshi Nakamoto white paper is one of the more well-written white papers in the space.
Well, it was kind of the innovator, right?
Exactly.
He was the original first player, and then some of these others that have spawned up. It's not to say that they're not as good. I don't really want to take an opinion that one is better than the other, unless I'm well researched and well learned on it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the first to market, right? And it combined several different technologies to create what it is.
Yeah. Satoshi, whoever that is, was clearly a very, very intelligent and articulate person. I was able to explain those ideas.
Person or persons.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
No,
There's a
no.
lot of.
We'll get into Satoshi as we go. I don't want to get too down in the weeds on
Yeah.
this one. Let's keep it high level, especially
Sure.
for the users. You know, they're not gonna know who the people that we're at least catering to on these first few episodes are going to be interested in. All right, how do I get my money into this thing that is now growing and just today has grown 25%,
Right.
which is absurd.
Yeah.
But you see these high swings in volatility because of the use case for Bitcoin and its product, and that's particularly what I'm referring to. Some of the coins you'll watch out for, and we'll talk more about how to kind of pick and choose your ICOs. And I have several friends in that space that could probably come on and give their insight on how they pick and choose and how to avoid getting completely like hosed by what people are just randomly throwing money at an ICO. You see it spike, you're like, oh yeah, that's good, but then it really doesn't have any backing or any basis for its use case, and it just comes crashing down on you.
I'll be really surprised if ICOs are even still around next year in the United States. Personally, I think they're going to outlaw.
It seems like that's kind of where it's all going, and
Starting to see a lot of ICOs that are not even accepting U.S. investors now.
Yeah,
They're starting to exclude them.
that's true. So that kind of, I think that gives us a good segue, and let's talk a little bit about our background. So Marshall, you're kind of driving this conversation. I think maybe give a little bit about your background, yourself, and just kind of how you got into this stuff.
who are you, Marshall?
I'm an 80s baby, kind of a lifetime nerd. I went to business school at Kennesaw State. That led me to law school. Practiced law for a while, did bankruptcy law, so was kind of involved in finance in that way. Did a lot of commercial real estate, and now work at a telecommunications company. 40, 50 hours a week studying as an attorney. That's what I like to do. I just learn all day.
So you are an attorney, and
I am.
okay, and what part of the telecommunications company do you do? What kind of work do you do for them?
Essentially the permitting and deployment of small cell technology, which is kind of like what the 5G internet will be built off of.
Okay,
Yep.
interesting. So technical and
Right, it's kind of technical in its nature and a lot of reading of code, that sort of thing.
would you say like you have a great interest in the legal side of cryptocurrencies, and like have you dove pretty deep into that subject matter?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very interested in that. I'm interested in the tax implications behind it.
Yeah, we're
how
gonna
to
talk
trade
about that in
safely, how to not go to prison for the gains that you're making.
Yeah.
And as an investor, I'm extremely concerned with any kind of developments towards making exchanges illegal, making holding Bitcoin illegal, that sort of thing. I want to make sure that I'm protected against that kind of loss. You don't want to see your money disappear, especially as it grows at this rate.
I agree.
Exactly. So I think the legal feature is going to be something that's going to be heavily featured in our January podcasts. Coming around tax season.
Yeah, because their taxes
it's
are
going
around
to
the
be
corner.
very important.
Yeah. So Marshall is really leading the charge in that area for us as far as kind of getting the background and knowledge and understanding. He's going to share that with us as well as you all that are listening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Spence, go ahead, man. Take it away.
My turn? Okay.
Yeah.
My turn. Let's see. So I'm also have a business degree. Went to Georgia Tech, undergraduate with this guy Rob right here.
Oh yeah.
And I studied business, and then after about 4 or 5 years in the workforce, I ended up doing a boot camp here in town. We all live in Atlanta, by the way, and I did a boot camp here in town and learned how to code. So I did the basically learned how to do front end development. I code with JavaScript every day. That's what I do for work. Yeah, so I guess what I bring to the table is, I can hook up the recording equipment.
It's true.
That's pretty
good.
good.
You brought all of the
That's a good
recording
start.
equipment, so
It's a good start.
you have done that and set up the webpage.
I own a microphone. I can set up a web page pretty well.
Your job's done.
He's being too humble. He can read white papers and understand what's going on.
Yes.
I do. So I do bring that element of maybe more of a developer side. One thing that really interests me in the space is how developer friendly it is. So, the guys that are really at the center of all of these new technologies are just incredibly gifted and smart, intelligent programmers.
The successful technologies.
The successful ones, correct. So, these are guys that, are just, the things that they're able to accomplish as teams is incredible. And one thing that I kind of bring to the table, and one thing that helps me with my investments, is looking at how active the developer community is for a particular cryptocurrency, how vibrant it is, how much good press it's getting versus how much negative press it's getting. That's something I really like to keep an eye on, and it helps me make decisions with my investments. And maybe I could also I'm also decent at taking complex technical things and kind of making them more layman's terms.
Exactly.
So
that's
another
the
thing
idea
kind of I
behind
bring to the table.
That's the idea behind the show too. It's
Yeah.
like let's.
We want to
And
educate.
we want to educate, and we don't want to come across as pompous or high level. We're on the same level as you guys, and we want to learn. We want to be told when we're wrong too. When we say
100%.
something, we want to be corrected, and we want to be educated as well. So all you listeners that are educators or well versed in these subjects that we're going to be discussing on here, if you hear something that we've said that's incorrect, we want to know, and then we want to correct ourselves on the next episode and make sure that our listeners are educated on it as well.
It's actually not a bad idea. Like at the start of every new episode, go through the things
Yeah.
you did
Wait,
well.
Let's go through our fact check session.
Yeah, here's a fact check.
That's critical, though. We just, the main intention, never spread false information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is the whole point of this. Just
Sounds super attorney of you.
right.
Super lawyerish.
Don't spread false information, and if we do happen to accidentally spread false information, we want to correct it and go forward, establish that trust.
Yeah, man.
So why should we listen to you, Rob?
Yeah, Rob.
Oh God. So I probably bring the least to the table.
No, you bring the food.
That's true. That's true. I actually bring the meals to the table.
Yeah.
That's where I come in. I'm the in-house chef. I'm pretty much a professional student at this point. I don't think I've been out of school my entire life for more than a year. I went to undergrad with Spencer. Like you said, a tech, hell of an engineer. I actually graduated with an engineering degree. No stab at Spencer, at least the first go around. So engineer by
M train, baby.
background, exactly. Hopping on that M train. Then I got I actually got out of school, got a big boy job, worked full time, and decided to go back to school part time while I did that. So I went back and I got my first master's degree in mechanical engineering from Auburn. Then had that for about a year and decided, hey, I'm not really getting what I wanted out of this. Why don't I touch up on some things that I really need to learn and some things that interest me most? And so I went back to school for my MBA at Georgia Tech again.
Just casually pick up a tech MBA.
Yeah. Yeah. So that has recently been completed. Shout out to all my classmates. Congratulations. I wish you all the best success in all of your endeavors. And it's been a hell of a ride. Roller coaster up and down, and I'm happy to be done with it, but thrilled in the knowledge that I picked up in the process. And part of that knowledge was this Bitcoin, Ethereum, cryptocurrencies as a whole.
If
and-
you had not gone to MBA school, I probably would be on the sidelines right now, not doing anything with cryptocurrency.
Exactly.
And so I'm glad you made that decision to become a professional student.
Yeah.
And yeah, I sat on the sidelines for a long time. I actually learned about Bitcoin a long time ago on Reddit, probably in like 2011 or 12.
Oh man.
And have been following it along the way. It's an interesting legal concept. It's interesting. I like the whole entire idea behind decentralized money.
So do I.
Especially after the financial crisis, it became super interesting to me. I was like, this could really work. At that point, it was so cheap, and I was a student at the time, so extra money wasn't a huge thing either. So I just kept watching and watching, and listening to guests on the Joe Rogan podcast. Actually, you plugged that earlier, but he brought Andreas Antonopoulos on a few times early.
The Godfather.
Even in, I think 2013 or 14 probably was the first episode with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the time I was getting really interested, and eventually the FOMO, the fear of missing out, won me over, and I started putting money in around May of this year.
Yeah, and haven't regretted it either.
Hell no.
No. No.
I'd also like to plug that. Yeah, Andreas Antonopoulos, if you're listening, we're coming for you, man. You're gonna get on this show, and we're gonna cook you a meal.
Oh yeah, I'll make sure to save one of my specialties. I may give him the steak.
Yeah, there you go.
The steak
Dude, yeah.
Speaking of which, let's go into our meal tip of the day. I think we
Meal tip of the day and wrap up.
I think we covered pretty much everything we wanted to cover for this episode 1. So meal tip of the day. You ever go out to a restaurant and that kind of like flame grilled or flame charred like flavor that you get on a lot of your veggies.
Mm.
That like, do you like that? You enjoy that?
Of course.
I do.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's so the problem is a lot of times when you're cooking veggies, you either have to be at a grill or if you want to bake them, which I do a lot of baking with my veggies because it's easy. I can stick it all in a pan. But I came across a faster, easier method of doing this, and it's so much faster than baking them. And you cook it in smaller amounts. So let's say you're just cooking for a few people, and you want to quickly throw together some really flavorful broccoli,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
Just take the broccoli. Take a pan. You need a pan. Pan has to have a lid. It needs to be a medium to large diameter pan, right? With a lid, preferably shorter.
Is it like a pot or a pan?
So it could be either. You could use either. Yeah.
Just as long as it has a lid.
Yeah, and I think the diameter is the most important thing, right? You want it to have a lot of surface area to gather a lot of that heat. So take olive oil, put some olive oil in the pan, throw your broccoli in there, spread some more olive oil over the broccoli. Just a little bit. You don't want to douse them in it. Salt, pepper, onion powder.
Okay.
Turn that sucker on medium high. Let it heat up. You'll start to see them kind of sizzle and smoke a little bit. Move them around. You cook them on medium high for roughly 5 to 10 minutes at most.
Okay.
Pull that pan off. Take it right over to your sink. Put a splash of water in it. And I'm not talking like soak them, but just like maybe a tablespoon or 2 worth of water.
Oh,
Just
wow.
to
So not really at all.
not much at all.
Just
Just to initiate some steam. Cover it with the lid. Let it steam for another 5 to 8 minutes. Take that sucker off. They're done. They're cooked perfectly. They're crisp on the edges, soft in the middle from the steam, and they are phenomenal. You've had them.
It is delicious. When you go from the water back to the stove, is the stove still burning?
Yeah,
on?
yes.
Okay.
Keep the stove in the same heat.
medium
Yeah,
high?
Uh-huh.
that's
Okay.
a great point. Keep this.
Essentially, putting enough water in there that it will all evaporate and turn to steam.
Yeah, exactly. What you want is the water will immediately begin to boil. You close the lid, and basically it becomes a pressure cooker for your veggies.
Nice.
So you've charred them in the same cooking apparatus. Then you throw in the water, throw the lid on, and then you steam them as well. So you get that charred, awesome grilled flavor
Mm-hmm.
with steamed vegetables, and it tastes fantastic, and they're cooked to perfection.
It's a great tip.
It's a great tip. I cook a lot of broccoli. It's a great tip.
Yeah, super easy. Did it last night.
My broccoli game just got elevated.
Broccoli game is now on point.
I now have like Kobe's broccoli game.
There you go. It's the Kobe beef of broccoli.
What do you call this dish? What do you call your broccoli? You don't have to answer
Yeah,
that.
don't, just
It's just broccoli.
just broccoli. It's just broccoli.
It's just broccoli.
We're gonna have plenty of like nicknames for dishes coming up, and the seasoning, the special seasoning I use on like my steaks and stuff. So
Perfect.
we'll get to that.
Nice. End of the show.
Into the show, man. I think let's wrap it up. Next time I think we want to provide a little bit more content on how do you just get started? Where are some of the avenues to go from cash in my bank account to Bitcoin on my ledger?
We also may want to go into what is Bitcoin for the layman's.
I think so.
We probably need about like 5 episodes of like
Yeah.
we'll figure it out.
I think as we go, we'll throw out tips on how to get in, and couple those with additional information and a little bit of a deeper dive into what Bitcoin is, what the use case is, and where we think the currency is going, and why we as young forward-thinking investors are getting into this.
Yeah, and it's important to lay that out for people so that they understand it's not about just getting in to get rich quick. There's a foundational technology here that has all of our interests. It's not just we see it going up, we're jumping in.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's much more than that. This technology has the potential to change the world.
It's going to transform everything in the next 20 years. I'm entirely convinced.
Yep.
Yeah, the more I learn about it, the more I'm convinced, honestly.
Yeah.
That it's not just this bubble, and how to defend yourself against all of those questions as well that you'll get as soon as you get into cryptocurrency.
Yep. How to do it smartly, how to do it safely. That's the other thing. We want to make sure that people we're not going to give you buying and selling and trading advice. That's not our forte, but we're going to give you kind of the educational tools to get your foot in the door in this market.
We probably point at people that are better at that.
Exactly.
Right?
That's the thing.
And link
we
you
can
to
do.
them, so that way if you want more info, like
Absolutely.
hey, we can be your interface to those people.
Yeah, and kind of vet those sources and
Vet
let
the
you know, because
sources.
YouTube is absolutely flooded with experts at this point. I only trust one or two.
Yeah, there's like experts in quotes, right? Because
Right.
everyone's making content now. We're not claiming to be the subject matter expert. But we are all 3 of us are actively seeking knowledge every single day, usually multiple hours of the day on this topic. So we could be a good starting point for you.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. This concludes episode 1, Cooking with Crypto.
Signing off.